Hello everyone and welcome. We're here in Yeshivat Chushel Chesed under the guidance of Rabbi Shalom Arush, and we continue our class in Rabbi Nachman's stories. We're holding that the Burgher's son got thrown out of the kingdom and he was surviving on an island, but his real soulmate was the princess, the emperor's daughter. Yet the emperor didn't want her to marry him because he was from a low class. Sometimes the parents get a little bit too involved in the shidduchim, but we have to realize that there's a real soulmate and only Hashem knows who's meant for who. What do we know? We ask advice from the righteous people, from the tzaddikim, and they can help us through the process. And like Rabbi Arush teaches in the name of the Arizal, the holy Arizal, that if it's not meant to be, it's not meant for them to get married, it won't happen. But if it is, then no matter what happens, like we see in this story, there's so many things that are blocking him from finding her and getting close to her. And we're about to see that he's going to go and meet her. She's going to say, no, I'm not ready yet. Why? Let's see. Meanwhile, the Burgher's son thought, how many times will I be sent away? What happened? He told other kings of his secret of why he's the meant to be soulmate, and he gave them his secrets, and they told it over, and 3 people did this. So she was already getting wishy-washy about this. So he said, I'm going to go myself. I'm going to go find her. I'm going to talk to her, and I'll tell you everything. His signs were even more obvious than the others. He told her how he had gone to school together with her, and similar personal details. He also told her how he had sent the other kings, how he had hidden the letter in a tree, and everything else that had happened to him. Still, she refused to accept his word. He could have said, wow, look at this. I went to meet my soulmate. And now she says, no, I'm not marrying you yet. Crazy what he had to go through. But everything is from Hashem, and everything is for the best, like we'll see. Such a long time had passed that it was totally impossible to recognize him. She refused to pay heed to any signs at all until he actually brought her the letter. She had already thought that the first one was surely him, and the second and the third, therefore nothing else would do. She wanted to see the letter. What was this letter? This was a map where she drew 7 places of water that she got from her mother, that her mother was saved from this guy's father. The young man decided that it would be impossible for him to remain there too long, since the emperor might discover his presence and kill him. This emperor, her father, his soulmate's father, was the one that exiled him. He therefore made up his mind that he would go back to where he had been in the desert, spend the rest of his life there. He walked and walked to come to this desert, and finally he arrived there. While all this was happening, many years went by. The young man made up his mind that he would live in the desert and spend the rest of his life there. It wasn't the first time he thought of this. He already thought about this back then. Yet, still, he knew, and his soul was pushing him in the direction, and he knew that he was supposed to get married to this woman. Obviously, this has some secret meanings that we don't understand. Could be something to do about Mashiach or something like that. That this union would bring forth something. But obviously, there is something hidden here. He had thought about a person's entire life in this world and concluded that it would be best for him to spend the rest of his life there in the desert. Therefore, he lived and ate the fruits just as before. Meanwhile, on the sea, there was a pirate. He heard that such a beautiful woman existed and got the idea to take her prisoner. He himself could not do anything with her. He couldn't have children. However, he felt that if he could kidnap her, he could sell her to a king for a huge sum of money. He began to set a plan in motion. Now, she was, again, let's not forget, she was the most beautiful person in the world. The whole reason why her father became rich is because people would bring presents to her because of her beauty. The pirate was a person who normally took risks. That's what the life of a pirate is. He lives out at sea. He would now take a gamble. If he was successful, he would win, and if not, what would he lose? Like all pirates, he was a gambler. The pirate went and bought a huge amount of merchandise. He also made golden birds. And they were made of such great skill they would actually appear to be alive. He also made golden stalks, upon which the birds stood. This itself was remarkable. Although the birds were quite large, they were able to stand on the stalks without the stalks breaking. He made it look like a nice branch and two birds on top of it. He also made mechanisms so that the birds appeared to sing. One clicked its tongue, one chirped, and one sang. It was skillfully arranged that men would be in a room on the ship behind the birds, and they would manipulate invisible wires. Like, so to speak, like they say how we're all here in this world, is that there's someone pulling the strings, right? So that the birds would appear to be singing on their own. Taking all this, the pirate set off to the land where the emperor's daughter was. When they came to our city, he docked his ship and cast anchor. He presented himself as a great merchant. People came to buy all kinds of precious goods. He remained there for somewhat more than a quarter of a year, while people brought home the beautiful merchandise that had brought from him. The emperor's daughter also wanted to buy from him, and she sent a message asking him his wares to bring his wares to her. So she's the princess, right? She's the emperor's daughter. He replied with a message that he had no need to bring his wares to a buyer's house, even if she's the emperor's daughter. Whoever wants his goods must come to him. The merchant cannot be compelled to do otherwise. All right, the emperor's daughter decided to go to him. Wherever she would go, she would put a veil over her face so that people would not be able to see her. Otherwise, they would faint because of her beauty. She therefore covered her face. The emperor's daughter went out with her face covered, and she took her companions with her. A troop of guards escorted her. When she went to the merchant, who was actually this pirate, right? They bought some wares and was ready to go on the way. He said, if you come back, I will show you even more beautiful things. They're truly amazing. With that, she went home. So, she came again, bought some things and went on her way. The pirate remained there for a while, and she became accustomed to visiting him. She would come and go. Then one day she came to the merchant, and he opened the door to the cabin where the golden birds were. He was about to pull his plan going, all right? She was able to see them, and it was an amazing sight. So she passed by, he opened the door, and he let her see the birds chirping and singing. She says, hey, what's that? She was able... Her bodyguards also wanted to come in. No, he said, I don't show this to anyone but you because you're the emperor's daughter. But I don't want the others at all. She went in alone. He also went into the room, locked the door behind them. He then did a vulgar thing. He forced her into a sack, took off all her clothing. He then dressed one of the sailors with her clothing, covering his face, because she went with a veil, pushed him out. Go, he said. The sailor did not know what was happening to him. As soon as he emerged with his face covered, the guards began to escort him, not realizing who he was. They assumed that he was the emperor's daughter. The sailor went along with the troop which was accompanying him, not realizing where he was until he came to the emperor's daughter room. So this sailor that the pirate shoved out didn't even know what was going on with him. He saw that the pirate told him to go. He went. When he then uncovered his face, they realized that he was a sailor. There was a great uproar. They slapped him in the face very hard and threw him out, realizing that he was ignorant and not responsible for what would happen. Having captured the emperor's daughter, the pirate knew for certain that he would be pursued. He left the ship and hid himself together with her in a pit full of rainwater until the outcry would subside. He ordered his sailors to cut anchor and flee immediately, since they would certainly be pursued. They would surely not fire at the ship, since it would be assumed that the emperor's daughter was on board. Therefore, flee immediately, he said. If they catch you, they catch you. What will happen? Like all pirates, they were not concerned with their own welfare. So, things are starting to get a little bit scary over here. But what we did see is that we're going to see something that's going to happen now, is that she will have to sit in a pit of water with this pirate, just like her mother was in these 7 bodies of water. She also will have to go through these 7 bodies of water. But let's think a second, just for 1 second, and then we'll finish. Is that when the Pauper, when the Burgher went to save the Pauper's wife, he was doing it for the sake of heaven, to save her. And he went into the bodies of water. He went into the mikveh. Now this pirate is going in to save her wife so he could sell her to other kings and to make money off of her beauty. Now his intentions were wrong. So he did go immerse himself in these 7 bodies of water, but because his intentions weren't pure, so it didn't help him. But for whatever reason, Rabbi Nachman teaches us that she had to go through this. So it's very important to know where your intentions are. That's the idea that we want to end off with, is that you can do the same thing as a great tzaddik, but if your intentions are not for the sake of heaven, then it's totally not going to help you. So Hashem should help us. Hashem should know that really deep inside every single person has his will is to be good, is to only do good. Sometimes we forget. We're covered up by the filth, but we must never forget that Hashem always loves me. It's only going to be good, and it's going to get better and better and better. Thank you for watching. Catch you next time.